Exposure is a huge determinant factor in whether or not you're going to be successful. And it's so important, in fact, that what you're exposed to between the ages of 0 to 7 has the highest impressionable rate on your livelihood because it affects your paradigm. And what is the paradigm? Your paradigm is basically your subconscious, and your subconscious is basically what runs 95% of your habits. It's on autopilot. When we say autopilot, we're talking about like it's steered without you having to be there, without you having to be conscious, without you having to be aware. In fact, how many of us are actually aware of the paradigms that run and govern our lives? The experiences you had growing up help set a standard, a pattern, a way of living for you. And everyone has a different set of standards based on the environment we grew up in, right? Because if I grew up in India, I'm probably going to practice a lot more different things culturally, ethnically, when it comes to food, medicinally. There's so many different things that are going to affect me as a person, as a human, based off the environment I'm surrounded in. And if I was placed somewhere else in the world, maybe like the USA, I'm gonna experience things completely different. I might have different sports, different interests in food, different interests in people. I might have different interests in philosophy altogether, right? So, what you are exposed to at an early age can really set the standard between how you think, feel, and behave. And if you don't ever question this, right? So if you don't ever question this consciously, with the awareness, like, why do I do the things that I do? Or what is it about me that makes me want to go and pursue that? Or, okay, I realize I'm upset about this, and I know the root of why I'm upset because I'm not really upset. I'm really saddened because of this factor over here. And I'm saddened because when I was younger, I experienced something like this that was similar, and how I reacted back then wasn't the most appropriate for me and ideal for myself. And yet, I now have that same feeling every time this situation comes up. So now I know, okay, I don't want to feel like this, but what I'm gonna, so you get what I'm saying? And so until we face our shadows, until we face the subconscious, until we understand who we are internally, as in putting a mirror in front of us and really analyzing all the features and details, until we do that, what's gonna happen is we're gonna carry out the paradigms in our lives that we had growing up, meaning the standard that was set for us. And who was it set by? Oh, the things we're exposed to, right? So it might not be people, it might be just movies, TV, books, literature. It might be events, circumstances, situations. It might be people. And see, the thing is, we're all flawed, right? We're all living out of some type of paradigm that someone else set for us until we take control of the wheel, guide the car, steer the ship, write the book, direct the movie, right? Until we become the person that narrates our own story, we're always going to carry out the narration of the story given to us. And is it fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that our parents, our caretakers, our schools, our environments, organizations around us, they don't always have the best utensils or devices or tools, resources, or equipment or knowledge applicable to help us become the best self for us? I don't know about you, but how many of you guys feel like growing up you weren't fitting in? Like you were an oddball? Or maybe you were not an oddball, but you stood out. You were shining bright every room you stepped in, all eyes were on you. How many of you feel like you didn't really know how to be yourself? You didn't really know what it was to be yourself? Or how many of you guys knew who you were and then people told you that's not you, and so you believed it and then it became true and now you don't believe that's you anymore? Or how many of you fed yourself a false narrative of who you are and accepted that identity? Well, my goal here is to ask you to challenge yourself, not just in the way you've thought previously, but the way you will continue to think moving forward. I once heard somebody say, question everything, including what I'm saying to you. Sent shivers down my spine, got goosebumps all over my body. I'm telling you, when I heard that, question everything, including what I'm telling you, what it made me realize is that I have to look at things with a different lens than what I'm actually given. Not the lens that people want me to see, but the the lens on which I actually see the truth. And here's the thing, nobody knows the objective truth, right? Everyone has their own subjective truth, meaning there's no overall truth that we could all subscribe to and agree upon. There's only personal views. And why is that? Well, in the grand scheme of looking at life, let's imagine there's a picture that's so big and so vast it fits up the entire sky, and it looks like all the stars in the universe. Let's imagine that's a picture, right? And we're looking at it. If I were to give each and every individual a telescope and ask them what they saw with their own perspective, I'm pretty sure we'd all see different things. Some people might see Mars, some people might see Jupiter, some people might see, who knows? You get me? So what I'm saying is, you, me, everyone in this world has a different thing that they're seeing in their minds through their eyes. And sometimes when we close this eye, yeah, we can open in this eye, but it doesn't matter how we see it, right? The things we see and believe to be true, the things we perceive, the things we feel, are the things we're typically going to go after in life. We're probably going to go and do these things. Why? Because we believe it's possible. Now, if you were set up with the paradigm in the young age that you weren't able to do these things, or you weren't able to have these things, or it wasn't for you, or it wasn't for us, and you believe that that's true for your identity today because you haven't worked through the shadow work that made you question those things, question those narratives, put a question mark instead of a period, like, wait, is this really me? Is this really what all that I can be, all that I can have? What's the best that life has to offer me, right? Because a lot of us will sometimes do the opposite. We'll do the negative self-confirmation bias, which we will say, oh, this always happens to me, or this is always going to get bad. I once had an ex tell me, I can't get happy for too long because bad things always happen right after. And I said, why do you think like that? Why? And she said, because it always does. I said, and it just disrupted my spirit. And mind you, we were young. We were real young. But it just, I couldn't sit with it. And sometimes people say things and we don't naturally feel internally that we agree with it. But yet somehow growing up, we don't realize this because we're not conscious, not aware. We just have like a sponge in our brain, and it absorbs everything we're given. And so a lot of times people will tell us fears, beliefs that are not rooted in faith but are rooted in fear, and we'll subscribe to those notions thinking that it's real. We'll subscribe to that belief and that system of thinking, that system of feeling, that system of acting, because that's all we've ever known, that's all we've ever been exposed to. And until we go to another area where someone will question it, like, wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to be, or wait a minute, that's not how I see things, until we're put in a different environment where we expose to different things, different ways of thinking, different ways of feeling, different ways of believing, different waves of frequency, we will always have the same results because nothing in our life has changed. Once we change, everything else will change around us. See, the world is a reflection of you. Growing up, you were just reflecting all the things you were taught. And so you have the results in your life of all the things you were programmed to have based off what you were believing is the standard. And that's not your fault that you didn't know any better. I get it. I was there too. No one's special. No one was just born knowing. But you called it enlightenment, awakening. The light bulb's on. This is your moment. You could either stay the same as you've always been and have what Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So you could either do that, or you could choose to grow, question everything you've been taught, including what I'm telling you right now, and ask yourself, how great can life really be? What's the best I can really become? Who am I really? What do I really want in life? I'm telling you, the best thing you can do right now is grab a pen and paper and start designing your life. and not according to the standards in which you were taught you had to fit into. I'm talking about the standards in which your mind is capable of, your imagination. And if I'm correct in this assumption, then it truly is impossible for you to have limitations in your mind and your imagination. So if you subscribe to that belief, you'll never know what's possible until you actually try it. Don't even listen to the person out there exposing you to fear. Don't even listen to me exposing you to a disbelief in what you already believe. I need you to listen to yourself, because there's something inside of you, something guiding you. We all call it spirit, energy, ki, science, whatever you want to call it, right? Atoms, spirit, energy, ki, prana. There's so many different names for it. What we're not denying is the actual truth behind it, right? They want to call it visualization, affirmation, prayer, meditation, silence, whatever you want to call it. Imagination, right? Whatever you want to call it, it's there. Change the name, it's still there. It's the same tool. And you know what's funny? Every spiritual gift you could ever have, every awakening you could ever receive, every great truth you could ever fathom, every experience you could ever experience, first has to start somewhere inside of you. It all has to start within you. You don't do things unless you believe that they're possible. So that means you internally believed it was possible. So now you externally went in after it and then achieved it. What you think, feel, and believe are all internal energies. What you act with, what you interact with, and what you transact with are all external energies. Spiritual, mental, emotional, beliefs, thoughts, emotions, feelings, internal energies. Physical, social, financial, act, interact, transact. External energies. What you do on the inside, as above, so below. You will do on the outside, will be reflected on the outside. You will never get more money than what you believe is possible. You'll never have better friends than what you believe is possible, and the relationship you have with yourself. The deeper you go within, the deeper you can connect with. This whole journey of life externally is really a journey of you internally. The more you explore this world inside of you, the more that the world outside of you will reflect that exploration and greater truth. And the more aware you become of yourself, of the world, of things. And this is why we all have different levels of belief, subjective truth. Because we don't go based off what I tell you. We go based off of what we tell ourselves. Again, if you've never set the parameters for yourself, it'll be based off of what everything else has been programmed you to believe through your exposure in your environment. So unless you change your environment and your exposure to the things in your environment, you won't change what's here inside of you. You won't. And the funny part is, you can say that vice versa. And until you change what's here inside of you, you will never change what's outside in your exposure in your environment. Again, as above, so below. That also means as below, so above. You affect the other. For every action is an opposite and equal reaction. The law of correspondence. We have universal truths. And the first being that we're all energy. We're all connected as one. Second, we're in a constant state of vibration. Change your vibration, change your frequency, change your reality.